Sophie had a concerned look on her face when she asked Jacob if he was competing against Michael. "Yeah, I'm competing with him," Jacob said slowly. Seeing the concerned look on Sophie's face, he tried to amuse her a bit and said, "Do you have any advice?" "No, I don't have any advice. I'm not keen on sports." She bit her lip and looked at Michael on the field once again. "I just hope you won't lose to him," she added. Jacob nodded slowly. "And also, I'll be cheering for you." Jacob smiled sweetly at her and thought that she had actually grown to like him. Coming down here to the field to surprise him, skipping school, and now wanting to cheer for him for the race he was most likely to lose. It was more than Jacob had ever imagined a girl would do for him. Unfortunately for him, he had somehow managed to get the attention of two girls at the same time. "It might be tough not to lose to Michael, but I'll be cheering for you too, Jacob," said Kathy as she overheard Sophie. She smiled weakly at Jacob and was looking at the situation doubtfully. Kathy started thinking to herself, "I know that Michael was the long-distance race champion at the state level in high school. Winning the university-level race would be very easy for him. Jacob's only chance at winning this is if Michael makes a big mistake. I really hope a miracle happens today. I want to see Jacob win." Different athletic events were held one by one, and the trio sat back watching. A variety of talent was on display, and it was worth a watch. 3 events after the 1,600-meter relay race, it was finally time for lunch. "Jacob, let's go get lunch. You need to eat well before your race in the afternoon," Kathy said to Jacob. Jacob turned to look at Sam and his roommates and found that they weren't looking in his direction, and he had a good idea why. He sighed and nodded, saying, "Let's go." He looked at Sophie and asked, "Soph, let's go for lunch?" Kathy was so upset as she heard Jacob call her Soph. She felt her chances with him slipping away. Sophie looked at him and promptly got up. All the university cafeterias were open today on account of the big event, but Kathy led them to the one which was the closest to the field. It also had the best food in the university. This cafeteria was famous for being the one closest to the girls' hostel, and so most girls from the hostel frequented this cafe. Consequently, it became a stop for the boys as well. Sam, for instance, always went to this cafeteria by himself, hoping that he could meet a pretty freshman and woo her into a relationship. There wasn't a big crowd at the cafeteria. Kathy led Sophie and Jacob inside, turned around to face them, and asked, "So, what do you guys want to eat?" Sophie looked at the menu on the wall and answered, "I'll have a cheeseburger and fries. Jacob will have the same." She ordered for both of them. Jacob rushed to take out his card. "I'll get it." "Come on, it's on me today." Kathy grabbed Jacob's hand and pushed his card back at him. He felt the brush of her soft palm on his hand, and for a second, he wanted to hold her hand. He shook off the feeling and quickly took his hand away. "We'll take 3 orders of cheeseburgers and fries so that we don't have to stand in the queue again for another." Kathy walked up to the ordering window briskly. "Sir, can I have 3 orders of cheeseburgers and fries? Oh, and throw in 3 milkshakes, too." Jacob had no choice but to let Kathy pay, since she didn't seem in the mood to budge. Sophie and Jacob found 3 empty seats. Jacob made Sophie sit down and ran back to help Kathy with the lunch order. Sophie sat down and started enjoying the scenic view of the university. The last time she was here, she hardly got to see it because she was so mad at Jacob. She giggled as she recalled the day and sighed at the greenery around her. Jacob and Kathy stood beside the pickup window as they waited for their order. "Why did you pay? You have already treated me to dinner the last time," Jacob said to Kathy. "That only cost a few bucks. It doesn't count. You are going to represent the entire class in a race this afternoon. This is the real treat for you," Kathy said with a smile. She smiled slightly, but it was honest and refreshing. "You always say how important the race is to the class, but you are buying me food with your own money. It isn't coming out of the class committee funds, is it?" said Jacob, trying to get Kathy to fess up her intentions. Kathy suddenly pointed out of the window and said, "Look, a deer in our cafeteria garden." By the time Jacob turned around and realized there's no deer, Kathy smiled and said, "It's done." Jacob smiled too, and it was good to see Kathy in a playful mood rather than the stern and serious class president for once. They carried the plates of food and walked to the table. Their stomachs were rumbling with the aroma of the beef burger and fries. Sophie was starving too, and none of them could hide the hungry look on their faces when they smelled the food. All of them immediately tucked in as soon as the food was placed on the table. Kathy smiled at Jacob as she saw Sophie eating in a hurry. Sophie completely disregarded how hot the burger was. Kathy didn't want to believe that she was Jacob's fiancée, but apart from that, she found her to be a fun person. The three of them continued to have their lunch quietly till it was all gone. After finishing up at the cafeteria, Kathy looked at Jacob and said, "Hey, it's still too early to go back. How about we walk around the campus?" Jacob was about to agree when Sophie interrupted and said, "Hey, didn't you promise me that you'd show me around?" Kathy paused for a moment. She quickly thought that Sophie was misunderstanding what she said and quickly added, "I meant the three of us could walk around the university." "Don't bother, I'll just walk around with him," Sophie said decisively. She didn't care if she came off as hostile, because she was being that way intentionally. Kathy received a light blow, but that didn't make her mad. "Fine, Jacob. You can keep her company. I'll head back." She felt that Sophie was being possessive, and she didn't want to intervene between the two of them. After all, she had said that she was Jacob's fiancée. Even if she wasn't, this wasn't the time to refute or ask questions. I can't get rid of her hostility even after buying her lunch? Man, she really is a hothead. Thinking of this, Kathy started wondering again. I wonder, why did she say that she's his fiancée? I'm still pretty sure it's her sister or a cousin who's engaged to Jacob. God, I hope she's not pretty. Wait, what am I even thinking? Kathy pinched her forehead to stop herself from overthinking the situation. She decided to talk to Jacob about it later. As she was about to turn around and leave, Sophie suddenly yelled in excitement. "Hey, sis!" Kathy looked at the gate of the cafeteria. Jacob also turned around as soon as he heard Sophie. Susan was standing at the gate wearing a long, striped blue dress, looking as elegant as ever. She glided towards Sophie and Jacob. She walked as lightly as a breeze, and it seemed like her feet didn't even touch the ground. Her graceful attire seemed out of place in the small cafeteria packed with teenagers. Kathy was so shocked that she had to cover her mouth to prevent herself from making any sound. Her sister is Susan? The teacher who makes all the guys lose their heads when they see her? Wait, if I'm right, if Sophie's sister is Jacob's fiancée and she just called Susan her sis, does that mean, is Jacob's girlfriend Susan? It does add up. Susan did ask Jacob to her office. He is the only student in college to ever enter her beloved office, so she called him to... Kathy pinched her forehead once again, but this time it was to hold back her tears. There was no way she could compete with Susan. I was looking for you, but I didn't expect you to be here, Susan said as she walked up to Sophie. All the students who were having lunch were genuinely surprised as they saw Susan walk into the cafeteria. They never thought that she would show up in any cafeteria at the university. Did you need me? Sophie looked at Susan in confusion. Susan glanced at Jacob and lightly held Sophie's arm. Come, I'll show you around the university. It wasn't a request, no matter how gentle it sounded. Seeing Sophie get taken away by Susan, Jacob knew he couldn't help her even if he wanted. He paused for a few seconds and then turned around to look at a distressed Kathy and said, Let's head back to the stands then? He put his arm around her shoulder. He somehow knew she was having a hard day.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.